our rule was always we're going to flip 4 houses and then buy 1 rental. Flip 4 houses and then buy 1 rental. That way you always have cash in your pocket. Hook up with somebody that's been in the business, knows what they're doing, kind of has proof that they know what they've been doing, and you save yourself a ton of headache. After everything I've been through, like you said, I think the more people that we can help, and, whether it's, ranching, whether it's real estate, credit card, helping companies save money, I think if we can kind of lean towards that, it'll inevitably help us.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. I'm your host, Crockett Carruthers, and today we have on Addison Blanks. So he's got a pretty cool story. He, back in the day, remember him kind of cowboying, ranching, and all that, and then he's evolved into what looks like a real estate investor / professional amateur golfer, I guess. So we're going to get into all that. How's it going, Addison?
Man, it's going good. Anything to stay busy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So take us back and give us some background on how you evolved and went through those different stages in your life and where you are now.
So originally, me and we grew up in the country and everything, and grew up on big ranches. And my dad learned to, developing them was the profitable side of it. So got into that, and then I actually got into real estate and went to work for a wholesale company. Did really well there and everything, but kind of felt like I'd gotten away from my roots, and decided to go into retail real estate with ranches and everything, which kind of grew into kind of having my own cattle deal and all that. And, mainly just, I thoroughly enjoyed being horseback every day. That was still to this day, sometimes when I drive to work every morning, I pass the Bass Ranch and I see them out there checking yearlings. And sometimes I wish I was still doing that, but, at the end of the day, had a family and just, wanted to be able to provide for them better. And I think God was just telling me to, go to what I'm good at, which was real estate. And it kind of guided me to open up my own company. And then inevitably here recently joined with a couple of really good friends, and we opened up Profit Homes now. And just kind of, went through the motions of what felt right and where God wanted to take me.
Yeah. How did that start? How did the real estate deal start when you started wholesaling back in the day? Like, real estate's always amazed me, and not just being an agent, that side of it, but the actual investing so many different ways. There's so many millionaires and so much wealth created through real estate. And like you said, getting into wholesaling, you can just go out there and hustle and find the deals and flip paper basically and make a pretty good living at it. And then also, take it to the next stage and doing some flips and rehabs and all that and make a little bit more. And then the people that keep them long term for rentals and all that are really building some wealth over the long term. But how did you get educated? How did you find the industry and all that to get into wholesaling?
We grew up in real estate, but the house flipping thing just kind of came. Me and my brother actually bought a shack in Stephenville, Texas. We actually bought it from Bo Mayo, and bought it cheap. We were doing the rehab ourselves, and it was probably not what we were the most successful at the time, was fixing up houses. And but then we were able to buy another one, and we rented both of those out and everything. And it just kind of keyed us in, and we were like, you know what, we are making some monthly income off this. It's not terrible. And then we were looking for more houses and found a large wholesale company and kind of said, hey, we can do this while working for them. Went to work for them, and we were both very successful with that. And then, like I said, we later on kind of went on my own thing, and my brother went and started flipping all his own houses and all that. So it's just kind of following, what lanes in your lap, I guess, kind of seeing what we were good at and what we weren't good at. And we realized rehab wasn't it.
Yeah.
And so if you saw our first few houses, you'd agree.
Yeah. I think a lot of people start that way, or maybe kind of dip their toe in, just like you said, like they buy some rundown house and then they're like, well, my time's not worth a whole lot, so I'll go do a lot of the work. And then, it turns into a bigger project and all that, and you spend all this time and money and going back and forth, and then probably end up having to have somebody come in behind you to really fix it. And then it doesn't turn out quite as good as you might think.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, if you'd have seen our first sheetrock job, it was it was the patchwork. But, that's the thing, you just got to learn, and we didn't have the money at the time to really, pay somebody to do it. So we were just kind of doing it on our own here and there. I mean, I remember we traded a flatbed trailer for somebody to come in and finish up our sheetrock and tape bed and texture job because it was just, we were doing everything we could to get the job done and get the tenant in it.
Yeah.
Looking back now, we probably should have flipped it, because everybody thinks, I personally think, with the wholesale and the flip side, a lot of people say, hey, I just want to jump in and I want to get some rentals. Well, they may not really have enough money to just, they get one rental and then they're kind of stuck. And like, well, I'm going to wait 2, 3, 4 years to be able to buy another one. Well, if you come in and, you get a flip done, make 20 or 30 grand, and then, do another one, maybe you wholesale one here or there, but build it up to where you've got a chunk of change in cash. And then, our rule was always, we're going to flip 4 houses and then buy one rental. Flip 4 houses and then buy one rental. That way you always have cash in your pocket and you can buy a deal. If somebody calls you tomorrow and says, hey, I want to buy I've got 123 Main Street and you can flip it, great. Do it 3 or 4 times and then you can turn around and buy your rental. But I think a lot of people kind of get, everybody preaches cash flow, but if you don't have much cash to start with, it's hard to continue that cash flow, because $500 a month isn't real pretty, but making 20 or 30 grand and then, doing that helps people keep going.
Yeah. And we've been stuck like that before. It always seems like, we'll buy some young horses and stuff and get them going and then sell them and then try to go back and buy something else and keep doing that. Well, it seems like after every time we buy one, another one comes along that looks like a better deal. Maybe it's not, maybe it is, I don't know, but it looks that way and we're like, dang, all our money's tied up in this one.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And the same way with the real estate. And real estate was kind of my first thing I started really following when I was looking at doing something else. And the first guy was Grant Cardone, and his deal's buying these multi-million-dollar apartment complexes. And it works, but that's a whole nother level. And then I got to following all these different guys and different ways of doing stuff. And I really like Ryan Pineda. He preached, he's like, hey, don't talk about rentals until you're making like 250, 300 grand a year from your job. And if your job is going to be real estate, then you need to be wholesaling and flipping until you build that income up to 250, 300,000. Then you got some money to play with, and then you can start talking about rentals. But yeah, that's the whole. I mean, I see both sides. Like Grant Cardone's talking about cash flow is king and building wealth, and definitely is. But I got to run the numbers looking on the MLS and stuff, and it's like, you can go put up however much money to buy a duplex or buy a house or whatever. Cash flow, hopefully $500,000 a month or something. It's like, that's not going to do much for me. CB Feedlot in Gatesville, Texas is what I think a feed store is supposed to be. They're not trying to just sell you something. They want to help you solve your problems. You can go in and explain exactly your situation and what your needs are, and they'll help you find a solution, even if they don't have it. Clint is always innovating and evolving with his customers' needs. They started carrying several bulk feeds, mixed 30 liquid feed, and even started carrying ice and propane. If you're in the Central Texas area, go check them out. CB Feedlot in Gatesville, Texas, and they are processing payments with us at Diversified Payments.
And that's where, a lot of people get stuck because they're like, oh, yeah, a lot of these guys preaching cash flow have a lot of cash, and a lot of them don't really tell you, well, I sold this off, or, I bought this property and sold it a year later and made, 50 grand on it and everything. And that's the biggest thing. If you aren't liquid to some extent, it's hard to keep buying rentals. I mean, I know, especially right now with rates, I mean, it's tough to buy a rental that cash flows right now in general, and so you either have the choice of, you're going to have to refi it out to get your cash back. Well, you had to have bought it right, at a good percentage so you can get at least, some of your cash back. And then with that, if you're going to leave your cash in it, well, then you either got to have a lot of cash so you can continue buying more, or, if you, like you said, if you have a job that you have great cash flow to where you can spend $100 grand a year on a house and it's not going to hurt you, then that's great. I know people who want to have their money in properties more than just in the bank. But for the typical person, if you're really looking to buy, 12 houses a year or something like that, I mean, yeah, you're looking at, you're going to have to buy right, refi them and everything, but needless to say, you need to have the ability to buy multiple properties. And, one of the ways is being able to wholesale, being able to flip them, because not every single property is a good rental, but it might make a great flip, might make a great wholesale, and the one thing that I learned was you can cherry pick. If you know how to wholesale, you know how to flip and buy rentals, well, then you're never going to get stuck with a property, because you may, like, with a horse, if you've got 4 or 5 in the barn, you may have that one dink that you don't know what to do with. But as long as you got 2 or 3 good ones, you can kind of sell them off. So if you lose money on that one, well, it's not good, but at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt you that bad. So if you get stuck with a property, you're like, man, this is a big rehab. I really don't want to jump off in that. Well, you can maybe wholesale it, make 10 or 20 grand on it, put some money in your pocket and keep rolling. Whereas if you just buy that one house, jump off in it, you're stuck with it. You know what I mean? You got to figure out one way to get out of it. So that was kind of always my thing. People who just know how to buy rentals or just know how to buy flips, you kind of pigeonhole yourself to where, you're going to get stuck with something that you really don't want. And hopefully you have the cash to get yourself through it. But if you know how to wholesale, flip, and do rentals, and I know there's a million other exit strategies. Those are just 3 that we mainly focus on. But I think having those options, would make anybody a much better investor in the long run. So
yeah, from what I've seen, like you said, like there's so many different ways to do it. The main deal is not having to sell something. Like as long as you can wait till the market's good and you're going to make some money, then you sell it when you want to, then it's all good. And I've seen all these guys, everybody does it a little bit different. But one of the reasons I wanted to have you on was to talk about that wholesale opportunity and maybe a little bit about the fix and flip. But I think the wholesale opportunity, like anybody listening can go do. It's just a skill set and basically, a job or a hustle, a side hustle, whatever it is. So kind of explain that. Go back to like when you were starting out, just a kid. You said you got into a company, and like how were you finding those leads and getting those leads, and like what the process was, and kind of what you were making back then maybe on it.
So, I mean, like when we started with the company and everything, we would make a good, 5 to 7 on a deal, something like that. Sometimes we'd be able to get a little bit more out of it, but the times were different. We were just trying to move as many units as we could back then, and we didn't really know enough to really know enough. We were just selling deals. That's what it was, and we were putting out the numbers and saying, hey, this is what we can do on it, and people were snagging them up and everything, and we were just really good at we were good at networking, which was the biggest thing, and I credit a lot of that to, we came from the country, we really didn't, like I said, we didn't know a whole lot. We'd worked at our family's restaurant when we were kids and everything. And, so that made us where we could talk to just about anyone, whether they were multi-billionaires or they were just, the janitor in the office. We could kind of, relate and talk to anyone. And so that helped with us. A lot of the people I sold houses to were mailmen. You know what I mean? They had a retirement and everything. We'd help them get set up with hard money. They weren't these big-time investors. We just kind of went to look and help people with money. That's kind of how we started rolling. And then from there, most of our like buy leads and everything were back then, which most people these days don't know what that is. They were REOs, they were foreclosures, which their foreclosures are picking back up, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it. But back in the day, that's what, all we had were REOs pretty much, and, buying a lot of those. So those were easy to find. They were all on MLS and everything. We bought some off-market stuff, but most of anybody back then was buying REOs. Moved to today, we buy a lot of off-market stuff. I have social media marketing. You can see it all over Facebook and everything, all the way up to T-shirts and, signs, road signs. There's really, personally, I don't think there's anywhere you can market that's bad when it comes to trying to buy houses. I haven't really seen anything yet that, we've bought them from anywhere. We buy a lot of estates, you know what I mean? When you're dealing with death and all that and everything, probates and everything, typically the biggest burden on the family is the property, and typically it's not in the greatest condition. The family only wants the sentimental stuff. They don't want to deal with all the stuff inside, and they want to get it gone. It's either a remembrance headache, they either don't remember it in a good light or it hurts them when they do remember it. And so a lot of times we can step in and, and help them with that, get it gone quick. We, one of our biggest things is one, if they want to get stuff out, we give them a lease back. It's small stuff like that, I think, that helps people to where they don't feel like, hey, I've got to get this entire house cleaned out in 2 weeks, And so when I was going into it, I was thinking like, what would I need in this situation? What would, more than just the money? Because a lot of times it's not the money to people. That's the important part. And for me, it was like, well, if I just lost a family member and, quote unquote had just gotten stuck with this house, what would I need? I need help with all the stuff in the house. Maybe I can't clear it out in 2 weeks. Because we usually buy houses in 5 to 7 days. You will close. So giving them a lease back term. Say, hey, you can clean this house out for the next 30 days, or at the same time, if they don't want anything but the guns and the silver and the china, hey, come get it. We'll take care of everything else. And so it's just, once I really started looking at the business, kind of like how can I truly help other people, it really started changing. It kind of grew from, hey, how can I make $5 to $7 grand on this house, to who really needs help with this, that kind of thing. And we tell a lot of people, like, if it's a super clean house, you can probably list it on MLS and get a lot more. It's the truth. You can. But if you don't want to deal with all the stuff, you want it gone in 2 weeks, that kind of thing, I can definitely make you an offer. And we just kind of grew with it as it came. And but now we buy anything and everything we can.
Yeah. And I've learned that in my sales journey. A lot of the best salesmen, they're not trying to hard close or get something over on somebody or something like that. They're probably not going to last that long. It's most of the good guys are going to, try to solve your problem, solve the homeowner's problem, solve a business's problem, whatever it is. And they probably know, you're going to offer them less money than if they list it, but they're going to have the money in 5 days or 7 days or whatever, instead of sitting there, listening. A realtor tells them to list it high and then nobody bites, and you got to keep lowering the price and then not make that much more money. And, I hear all these guys, they all have creative ways, sometimes they just want out of the payment, and you can put no money down and just take over the payments and do these different deals. Everybody's got a different problem, and just being able to problem solve for somebody else.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the sub 2 stuff, or taking over, that's something that I know a lot of people that do great with it. I always personally was scared of the bank calling the note or something like that, and so we never really jumped off in that. But that kind of for me was always where the wholesale side came in. If I got something that was the numbers worked, even if I didn't want it, I could probably sell it to somebody. And I had some really good connections. If it was a special situation that I knew wouldn't screw anybody around, I could contact them and say, hey, I've got this house. This is the situation. These people need help with this, this, and that, and this, like I said, if it's a sub 2 thing, I'd be like, hey, they don't have any equity, but they need to get out of it. You can probably, cash flow X amount. And so I'll help move it to somebody who is in that, part of the business and everything. But like you said, it's just trying to truly help people. By all means, we all make money off of it at the end of the day, but if you can make it, our goal is kind of make it a win-win for everyone, whether it's, us and the seller, or, us wholesaling it. So it's a win-win for everyone, that kind of thing. I do think, I think in the last few years, a lot of that has kind of left the business. I think a lot of people were just like, hey, I want to make as much money as I can. I don't care who I hurt, who I take advantage of, that kind of thing. And, but I think we're seeing that those people are kind of getting out of the business, and we're kind of going back to, a good part where people are really trying to help. I know I have a lot of people call me, and say, hey man, we need help with this and we need to do this, or, hey, I can help you with this, that kind of thing. And, just, kind of doing, I don't want to say we're all doing it by handshakes, but, to an extent, kind of getting back to that a little bit.
Yeah. So. Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough other people get what they want, you can have whatever you want.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So that's the way to do business, I think, just coming from the side of helping somebody instead of trying to make everything you can, But we probably need to back up and explain to people that don't know, like, what is wholesaling?
So, in layman's terms, wholesaling is where you have somebody who, needs to get out of a house for whatever reason, and you make them a cash offer. Whether it be, let's say, you can say, I'll give you $100,000 for this house. And then on the other side, you're selling it to an investor who is willing to pay, let's say, 110, and you make that money in between. That's kind of lamest terms. There's a million different ways to spin it, for whether you're doing an assignment, which you're just signing over your contract, whether you're double closing it, where we actually close and then turn around and close with the investor, which is, a little, in my opinion, I like it a little bit better. You can kind of help handle the contract and everything and all that a little bit easier on when you're the buyer. Obviously then everything goes through title policy and all that. But needless to say, in lamest terms, you're kind of the middleman making the money in between.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I mean, that's like an entry level to real estate. I guess it's not really investing. It's more of a, like you're providing a service, more of a service based.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think, when it's done correctly and people are knowledgeable, and you can, like you said, you can make a great living at it. You can obviously, there's huge companies that do, hundreds, if not thousands of deals every single month. So it's there. I just think it is one of those things that's got to be maintained, and people need to do business the right way. Mm-hmm. And if you're investing and you're the one actually, buying it, fixing it, reselling it, that's simple. You're just, hey, I can give you 100,000. You're the one buying it and everything. But when you're the middleman and you're kind of handling that, you need to handle it correctly, and let the seller know, like, hey, this is what we're doing. I have these investors that I've worked with. They buy these houses. Tell them what's going on and that whole thing. There's a lot of these people who kind of leave the seller in the dark and don't really let them know what's going on. Even when we were wholesaling something, I would always offer what I knew I could close on it at. So I knew that if I was buying it for 100,000 and I couldn't sell it for 110, I was still going to buy it for 100. That was kind of what, once as I grew into the business, I was like, this is how you need to handle the thing. Be upfront with them, let them know how this whole thing works, and it makes the business so much easier. Mm-hmm. A lot of people run into hiccups, because they really didn't tell the seller what's going on. Then on the backside, they're trying to get something done, and the seller starts questioning it and everything. And it's like, if you just been upfront and said, hey, this is what we do, this is how we do it, makes the business so much easier. And a lot of times the seller is more thankful, because at the end of the day, they just want to get their house sold. Mm-hmm. They don't really care as long as they get what they want for it, and what you tell them is going to happen happens. They're happy, they really don't care how it happens. But that's kind of how I see the business nowadays. And like I said, I think we're seeing a lot more of that. A lot more people are doing it right, being more upfront with it and everything. So
I feel like I understand it enough that I think I could go get in trouble at least. And
yeah, there's a lot of people. Yeah.
So I feel like anybody could go out there and get in front of enough people to find a deal. Go knock on, crappy looking houses that are in bad shape, or the lawn's overgrown, or somebody doesn't, it's nobody lives there, and you find the address from the tax map and mail them a letter, say, would you want to sell? Whatever. If you get in front of enough people, you're going to find probably a deal.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the other side of that, what I would wonder is, how do I find that investor? How do I get it sold in that, week, 2 weeks, whatever, 30 days that you have before you have to put your money up if you're going to do that assignment contract, the assignment of the contract?
What I always tell people, like when I have a lot of people who come to me and ask me that, how do I get started and everything? And what I always tell them is, find somebody like me, that I'm more than happy to run numbers for people. Give them, if you send me a bunch of pictures, like I'm more than happy to tell you generally how much it needs in rehab, based off enough pictures, that kind of thing. So then you can go into that person that you're talking, the homeowner you're talking to, and make them a solid number. Because when you have a deal, the investors will come. That's all you need. If you have a deal, you won't have to hunt for investors or any of that. You post a few, addresses and the numbers and everything, and they'll come finding you. But it's where people get in an issue is that they really don't know how to run numbers. They don't know how much rehab it needs. They really don't know what it's worth, and they just offer what they think is cheap, maybe, or something like that. And that's when it's like, they contract it for $150, and it's like, no, we need, we need this house for 125 or 110 or whatever it is. And that's where they get in trouble. Mm-hmm. If they cover the important stuff first, like if you came to me and said, hey, I'm looking to do this, looking to do that, and then, shoot me over an address and pictures, and I, run up and say, hey, we'd pay 120 for it. It needs 45 in rehab. Well, then you're able to go out, and then you can say, okay, if you get it for 115, you don't have to sell it to me. At least you know that you have a backup, though. Mm-hmm. So worst case scenario, you can have somebody who's willing to give you X amount for it, where you're profitable, or at least you break even. And then you can go out and try to market for a higher price, because there's always somebody that'll pay more, that kind of thing. And so when people come to me, that's kind of what I tell them, like, hey, I need it at this number. You get it cheaper than that. Sell it to somebody for higher. That's great. If not, and everything comes down, call me. I'll give you this amount for it. We'll contract it and get it closed, type thing. Mm-hmm. That's what I would suggest. And then you kind of, like you said, you know enough to get yourself in trouble, and then you won't really hit that situation. Because typically when people get in trouble, or they have something they can't move, it's because the numbers are just way off.
Yeah. But if you did, if you got one under contract and you had that due diligence period at the end of it and you couldn't get it sold, I mean, you can just kick it back. You'd lose your escrow money, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, it's obviously the seller, and the seller has the option to try to sue for specific performance. I haven't seen it happen a whole lot in my time, because unfortunately the seller's usually in a tough situation, that kind of thing, so they won't. But, that's why I would always suggest, have somebody in the background. But, I mean, at the same time, if you're just looking to hunt investors and everything, you can always, all the Facebook pages and, social media and all that and everything, you can connect with, 50, 60,000 people at a time just by saying, hey, who's buying in, Forest Hill and tagging at everyone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you get a pretty good idea, or what's everyone paying per square foot in Forest Hill or, whatever situation that is, so you can kind of just do a little bit of homework, before you contract something. And even on the contract, I have some people send me some contracts and I'd rather have a napkin, so I would just say, hook up with somebody that's been in the business, knows what they're doing, kind of has proof that they know what they've been doing, and you save yourself a ton of headache.
Mm-hmm.
So,
let's talk about what you have now, your company now, and what y'all do there.
Yeah, so I mean, we're on the ground floor. We're a wholesale company. Just moving as many houses as we can. We're really trying to reposition. Wholesale gets a bad name sometimes. A lot of bad characters involved in it that have just kind of disregarded everyone else but themselves in the business. And so we're trying to bring it back to where it's a win-win for everyone. We want the seller to get what they want out of it and to be happy. We want to perform on what we told them we would. And we want the buyer, the investor, to get a good product and everything, so that obviously in turn it makes us look good. We do more business. Mm-hmm. But man, we also have the option, Andrew Welker, the owner of the company or the CEO, he's really big into build to rent. He's big into multifamily and everything. He was the creator of New Western Acquisitions with a few other guys. And so it's just, the knowledge he has and the sight that he has to build things it is unreal for us. I've been great friends with him ever since I was there. He's always been, right there for me if I needed something. He's a great guy. And so, we kind of all had the same idea, like, hey, we need to do something in this, business that we can help everyone and do it the right way. Inevitably, it's like somebody actually tells you how good a horse really is or isn't, mm-hmm. type of thing, And so, yeah, we're just trying to grow. We have a lot of really, really great guys in the business. We're trying to recruit and hire people as quickly as we can, but just trying to build it upon, integrity and honesty with the product, whether we're buying it or selling it, mm-hmm. That kind of thing. And, one thing, we're a little different. We actually have the ability to take stuff down, actually buy stuff. We don't just do wholesale, so if we, whether it's development stuff or whether it's just single family homes, that kind of thing, we have the ability that if it's, a good enough deal or whatever the situation is, or like I said, foreclosure, that they call us on Thursday and say my house is going to auction on Tuesday. We can get title done, close on it, and then sit on it and figure out what we want to do after that. If we need to give them 30 days to move out, let them, sit in the house and everything and get moved out in their own time and everything. And then we can figure out whether we want to wholesale it or flip it ourselves. Mm-hmm. So, it's a lot of flexibility, that kind of thing. But yeah, ground floor, we're just wholesaler trying to do it the right way.
Yeah. And so is there opportunity there in the company you're at now for somebody to get started in that business?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And
yeah.
What does that look like when you recruit somebody, when you get somebody new on?
So inevitably we bring them in. You start in the sales side, and that's where you're pretty much selling the investment properties, meeting with investors and everything. We put them through an extensive training. I honestly, with the people at the top, I couldn't even tell you, I know I've been in the business since like 2009, 2010, and I've moved somewhere around 1,500 to I lost count at about 1,500 transactions, and I know I'm the youngest one out of everybody and have done the least amount of business out of everyone. So, there's a lot of knowledge to be had and grow. And so, if somebody really wanted to get in the business and have a real crash course, I would say you could come in and through training and all that, you'll probably learn more in, 6 months than you could in a couple of years trying to do it yourself or something. So, but main thing is just trying to train everyone from rehab. We do an extensive rehab. I just left a rehab training that we were doing where we walk people through and we train them on, what a rehab is going to cost, generally speaking. And it's what our personal contractors do it for, So when we say, hey, this rehab is going to cost, 55,000, I can close on that house and get my contractors to knock it out for somewhere in that, 55 to 60 range, 50 to 55 range. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where we want to train them, because we push our people to go out and do their own investments. We want them to buy, kind of proof is in the pudding. And so when we have things like that, I want to train them correctly so they know how to run numbers, to where if they find a deal on their own and they say, hey, I want to close on this and make it a rental, or I want to make it a flip, I'll help them, but I want them to be able to do it on their own, so they know that, hey, this house is worth 300 if I rehab it. It does need 60,000 in rehab, So when they make that offer and they want to actually put their own hard-earned money into it, they're going to get a good deal. Mm-hmm. I don't want, if we teach them bad numbers or something like that, they can get themselves in trouble.
And on that, like the rehab training, y'all are going and looking through actual properties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I see some guys do it a lot over the phone, like scale it up to where they're buying houses all over the country just over the phone. How do you get to that point where without stepping foot on the property how much it's going to take to rehab it?
I mean, being all over the country, that's tough, because obviously, California rehabs and everything are cost way more than ours will, that kind of thing. You have, Colorado rehabs are completely different. You have to deal with snow load. They have basements, all that kind of stuff. But if you're, just here in Texas, you can I know me personally, I can pretty much look at pictures, like I tell anybody, give me a picture of every single room. Give me a picture of the majors, which is HVAC, roof, and any cracks in the walls for foundation, that kind of thing. And then a picture of every single side of the home, and then a street view picture of the home. And I can usually get within $5,000, give or take, as long as they don't leave something out.
Yeah.
We had a house recently where a guy sent us, and the whole backside of the house was burned, but he left those pictures out. So, needless to say, but I can get pretty darn close with those numbers. And I think it just takes time. Now, I will say a lot of those guys, sometimes they aren't quite on. I know a lot of people pitch a price per square foot. We need to be at this for rehab, but it's just tough to say, because then you have to jump into different variations of price range of resale. Your rehab on a $200K house is going to be way less than your rehab on a $600K or $700K house. So it's just, I personally think if you aren't walking them, it's tough to say, really exactly what it is. And like all our guys, we force them to go out, and walk every single property, that kind of thing. We can give a solid offer that we usually are right on, just by pictures. But before we actually get the deal done and everything, we go out and walk it, because one, obviously, we want to make sure we don't kind of get ourselves in a bind, but also we don't want to make an offer we can't, uphold. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's takes a lot of knowledge and a lot of time and everything. And it's walking a lot of houses in person, so that you know what to look for in the pictures, when you get pictures and that kind of thing. So
do y'all buy mainly locally here in the Metroplex?
So we have 2 offices in DFW, Dallas, Fort Worth, and we just opened up San Antonio here recently, and so hopefully we'll just continue to go from there. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we do. DFW is my home and always will be.
Yeah. So when you're recruiting somebody, is that it's an in-office job, or do y'all kind of take deals remotely, or if like somebody did have the knowledge to kind of get started, could they kind of work with you from their, remotely from their area?
Yeah. So with us, it's real flexible. It's kind of, and the way I kind of put it to people is, if you're doing really well, you're buying and selling a lot of houses and everything, like me personally, as I manage the Fort Worth office, I kind of leave it alone. If you're being successful and that's working for you, by all means, that's awesome. We have office meetings Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, mainly to go through transactions and, see when closings are and new properties coming available and all that. But needless to say, it's, one of those things where you can definitely have a flex schedule, work from home, that kind of thing. I will say 99% of the time, the people that are successful are the ones that are right there, kind of in the pit, in the trenches, with us every day, because it's, one of the guys will say, hey, I can buy a 322 in a certain area, who has a buyer for that, and it's not, we aren't sending out this big blast, we aren't doing this, or hey, what do y'all think of this situation, what can we do here, can we do a garage conversion in this neighborhood, that kind of thing. And if that person sitting there has a buyer for that, and they can say, oh yeah, I got a buyer who buys that all day long, he loves that stuff. Not only can we know that we could buy that house then, but then that person can turn around and call that investor and say, hey, guess what? I got a deal for you. This is the information. This is what we can get it at. This is where we're going to sell it. That kind of thing, which would never happen if you were, sitting at home or something like that. And I try to make the office a fun atmosphere where people want to be there. We do a lot of fun stuff with the team and everything. I try to get a lot of people to go play golf with me.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But it's one of those things as long as people are doing what they're supposed to and, inevitably making money and everything, I kind of try to leave them be. I hate micromanagement. I hate being micromanaged. I don't want to do that to other people, so it's once you're kind of past that training period and I think you can manage yourself, I try to just let the reins go and hope you do the best. And if I need to come in and, do more training or do this or correct someone, then I'll be there to do it. So
what's the pay structure look like when you onboard somebody? You said they start on the sales side to investors. Is that commission based or do y'all do salary and some commission, or how's that look?
So on the sales and then acquisition, sales is you start out and you're on commission only. We do a bonus structure for different. As you sell more properties, you make more money. Then you bump up to acquisitions, which is a promotion. You make more there, but you're also able to buy and sell. So you can buy something, turn around and sell it, and make double commission on it. And then from there, you can become a manager, a sales manager, acquisitions manager, assistant general manager, and then you can move up to a general manager where you take over your own office. And that it's extremely lucrative, and it's all different pay scales and everything depending on what position you're in and all that. But I know. It changed my life when I first started. It's definitely, it was, it's nothing to make, $20,000 in a month, something like that. If you're a really good agent, you really help, really moving deals and everything and focus on what you can do. It can definitely be life changing. Sure.
And does somebody have to get their real estate license to do that?
Yeah, you do have to be licensed. We are a brokerage, so you do have to get your license and pretty much. Right now, it's about a 45-day process. Is about the quickest. You could probably get it done in 30, online and everything. I'm not sure if you can still. You could go in person and get it done in 2 weeks at Purvis, I think. I don't know if you can still do that anymore, but we kind of plan on 30 to 45 days for somebody from the day they start their classes till the day they're licensed. So,
what do you think the pros and cons are? For somebody that went and got their license to go to just a conventional brokerage as opposed to joining y'all?
I mean, and I've done both. I wasn't cut out for being a listing agent, being a buyer's agent. I'll be honest, we work hard, but man, they work really hard and they'll work really hard and not make money sometimes. I've seen people put a lot of time and effort into listings, into buyers and all that, and not get a dime out of it, and that was my thing. I was like, man, I'm really busting my butt to help these people find a place or, to list a ranch and pictures and all the cost and everything, and inevitably get nothing out of it. Sometimes properties just don't move. Sometimes buyers just don't buy. But with us, being the investment side, we're somewhat of a niche, but investors are always buying. There's always cash to buy. As long as your deals are good, somebody's out there to buy it and everything. And we're a lot quicker paced. Our stuff, is from the day we contract it to the day we close it with an investor is usually 2 weeks. And that kind of thing. Usually they sell within, 30 minutes, 45 minutes on the better deals, usually in less than a day on most all the other deals that aren't, a showing or something. But it's fast paced. It's fun. We have a joke. We sell houses. We don't show them, that kind of thing. Because if you're, the thing is, if you're looking for a 322 in, Benbrook at certain numbers and you've explained that to me and I call you and say, hey, I've got that 322 in Benbrook, needs these numbers. Well, you've got that you're losing money if that cash is sitting in the bank. And so, you're going to be like, yeah, I want it. Let's go. That kind of thing, as to where when you're just showing buyers and everything, it's kind of like, well, we're going to be in town this day and we're going to look at these 10 houses and all that and everything, and so, yeah, those people, I think they work a lot harder than we do to get a buy, to get a sell or something. So would be some people love it. Yeah. I have friends that are extremely successful and they're the biggest extroverts in the world and they're amazing at what they do, but I will admit, they work way harder than we have to with the investment side. So
yeah, I would imagine. And it sounds like y'all may have offer, less commission, less pay on per transaction, but you're going to get a whole lot more transactions.
Oh yeah. Well, and ours is, our pay is based off the profit margin. So it's kind of one of those things where if somebody's selling, let's say high end, if they're selling a ranch, they're going to make a huge commission. But at the same time, we may have a property that we might make, we might sell it for 75, but we might make 20 grand on it, if we bought it right or something like that. Or if it's a showing and people, pay more. A lot of times at the showings, people get them bid up, where you may make, but then we may sell a house where we sell it for 800,000 and we only make 5 grand on it. So you may make more on your commission base off of a cheap house than you did off selling an $800,000 house. So it's kind of we back in the day we did a thing where we figured out if you had listed or made your, let's say, 3% on all the properties we did over the year versus what we made by wholesaling them and everything, and we actually made about 25% more wholesaling them the way we did, making our wholesale commissions, just because of that, because of the cheap, it's easier to move a cheaper home. But, that's why most realtors, when they have kind of a cheap junker, they call us and say, hey, just get this gone. I don't want to mess with it because they're going to make, $900 or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, it's not always they're going to make more off of it, but at the same time, it's, the work is definitely there.
Yeah. What do y'all see the most of? What type of properties? Is it just single family, or do y'all do like some ranches and raw land and stuff like that?
So mainly single family. We do some, some land and everything, some smaller stuff. I wholesaled a bigger piece down in Aquila earlier this year, which those are always, fun to get done and everything, and usually make a big chunk of change on them and everything. But they're, few and far between. It's, usually those things are that was an estate situation where the family was just fed up, wanted to get it gone. It was all, profit to them, that kind of thing. Grandpa had it forever. And they just wanted to get it gone. They were tired of dealing. They're actually tired of dealing with, owner occupant buyers who are screwing them around and this and that and dragging it out. And they just said, hey, we're done. We want to take a cash offer and move on, I love those deals. I love doing with the ranches and everything. And, even the lots, the development, 10, 12 acre stuff. But mainly just the single family is always the easiest. You don't have a whole lot of land developers that are wanting to, spend $3 or $4 million in a day.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's pretty crazy what all you can do. Like anything that interests you. I mean, there's a way to make money on that. And I'm a proponent. Like I love cows and I love ranching. I love horses and cowboy and everything. But I tell people, if you only have 100 acres or 200 acres and you're planning on just going and turning 10, 15, 20 cows out, you'd be way better off just taking that little chunk of money and putting it in some type of real estate, a fix and flip, or if you can get the marketing out to do some wholesaling or something like that, it's going to be a way better return than that few $1,000s that the calves are going to make.
I mean, that's the big. I mean, we both know that obviously the market's great. The cattle market's great right now and everything. And but it's one of those things. It kind of one of the go big, or if you're looking to be profitable and and pay your bills and all that. It's sometimes you got to go big or go home, or you got to have others. So you got to have horses. That kind of thing. There's a reason that people with the most cattle and, keep going and everything usually have really good horses, and in turn they have more land or they lease more land, that kind of thing. And so, it's definitely one of those things, if you can take that, like I said, if you're looking to do 10 or 12, flip a couple of houses, or like you said, wholesale or something like that, until, and for every deal you wholesale, buy a couple of cows or something, buy a couple of bred heifers or something. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is just, that's kind of managing your money.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And I mean, it sounds like if somebody out there were to kind of maybe come across a deal, they could call you and maybe y'all could do something on it, and they could make a little commission or make, something on the deal.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we always are, we love when we can get somebody, to help them out, whether it's, we have people that call us and say, hey, I drive to work every single day and there's this junky house and, this is the address, and see what you can do. And we can reach out to whoever owns it and see if we can work a deal and everything, or if it's something that somebody owns and they just want to get out of it or get rid of it, that kind of thing. So, and it's like I said, we try to be as transparent as possible, tell them kind of, hey, this is what we're going to buy it for. This is what we're going to do with it. Even if we're going to flip it, I'll be like, hey, we're probably going to list it for, $299. We're going to put 65 grand into it. That kind of thing. And a lot of that's trying to kind of give them an idea, because we have a lot of people that say, well, we thought about doing it ourselves. We thought about fixing it up ourselves, and everything. So I'll kind of walk through and be like, well, our number is going to be 65. Can you get a contractor out here to do it for that? Well, no, most contractors said they were going to be at 85 or 90, because our crews can do it a lot cheaper because they do it every day. And so, but I kind of like people to know, because it saves you the headache in the long run, that kind of thing. And so, but yeah, we love it when people call us, and we can kind of give them full information on the home, what it would sell for, and all that.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to have you on, is to give people opportunity, whether they're looking to make some extra money and maybe they can join your team and learn the wholesale game, or they know of a property, or maybe own a property or inherited a property, whatever, and just want the cash and to get out of it fast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that's like I said. Inevitably, you're just helping people. They're helping us, we're helping them. Like I said, it's not like we aren't making money on it and everything, but a lot of times the property is a headache. I've had a lot of properties that were headaches that I didn't want anymore. So like I said, we just do what we can to make it work for everybody.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
So hopefully 10 years. I don't know. Probably still with profit. Kind of wherever it takes us and everything. I actually I thoroughly enjoy. Even though I say I thoroughly enjoy being horseback and everything, checking cows, I thoroughly enjoy being in the office, and I get a lot of happiness out of making other people successful, and so training new people when they come in, and before I hired a lot of friends and family that became very successful. My brother is probably one of the most successful real estate investors I know. And so being able to see that and to me, it's worth it more than just the money. It's because you can't buy that. And so by being able to bring in young people and train them in the business and teach them and see them go on and, make more money than they ever thought was possible. And then they become managers and GMs and get their own office and all that, or maybe they move to something else, but that's what they always dreamed of doing, and you can always kind of trace it back to that point where it's like, it makes you feel good that you did something to help someone else. And, and it's kind of one of those things, I feel like, through the whole time where I was going and doing this and everything, it was kind of like God was kind of poking and prodding me to to go to this and everything, and I do this, and I didn't feel like I was really helping somebody, and looking back now, I'm like, yeah, you were only helping yourself with that. And so that either that didn't work or it kind of failed, and then I'd go to this, and now I can see on a daily basis to where it's like I'm helping this person do this, and I'm helping them grow and be better and all that. And so, I don't know. I don't plan on retiring. I don't feel like it's work. So I'm excited to go into work every single day and everything. But, maybe have a little bit of land, a few cows to chase around, that kind of thing. And, the old man horse, I guess. But yeah, just a little bit of everything. I've done a little bit of everything and hopefully keep doing it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I started this, was for this reason, to help people and be able to, if somebody's wanting to make more money or get motivated to make a change in their life or become an entrepreneur or leave their job and do their own deal, whatever it is, maybe they hear something on here, maybe they come wholesale for you and I mean, dramatically increase their income and change their life, or, if somebody else is on, they can go join them or whatever, just show that opportunity and help people and maybe open their eyes to something new. And, so they can, the big thing I think is thinking outside the box, and then, being resourceful and being able to create, like you said, like you don't want to retire because you're doing what you love, being able to create that dream life and do what you want every day is the ultimate goal. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, it does take money. So we have to figure out a way to make some money and then keep some money to be able to do that. No matter what your hobby is, if it's horses or ranching or, playing video games, whatever, there's going to be you're going to have some money somewhere. So the cool thing about business is I never would have thought that I loved it in these different industries, and I'm always looking for opportunities and stuff. But like you said, I've developed a passion for making those sales calls and going in the office and going into businesses and stuff like that. It's actually kind of developed a passion for it that,
Oh yeah.
you never would have thought you had. But
Oh, it gets addictive.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And it's cool helping people, like you said, getting those messages from the show, the people that listen, like, hey man, that really helped me do this, or I loved it, or whatever. Get a lot of the negative too, but those positives, it makes you feel good. Business owners could use an extra $1,000. You could put it towards a vacation, new equipment, or marketing for your business, or if you're a horse owner, blow it on them. Right now at Diversified Payments, we're offering $1,000 cash if we can't beat your current credit card processing rate. If your business is doing $20,000 or more a month in credit or debit card sales, fill out the form below and you're going to get either $1,000 in cash or even more in savings with us at Diversified Payments.
I pay attention to your credit card thing. Looking back, I was thinking about that. My parents used to have a barbecue restaurant, and they were cash and check forever. And they got into the credit card side of it and everything. And, it just kind of made me laugh because, they would always complain about the cost and charges of using a credit card, and, I don't even know if we made money on that because of the charges and the extra this and everything, and like, seeing that people like you are doing that now, it's just stuff like that you don't, that is really, especially mom and pop shops, they were, they did very well and everything, but they were still a mom and pop shop, and all that. And, so it's one of those things that's stuff like that, if you can save them, $500, $1,000 a month, like that's huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's paying for drinks, paying for this, paying for, salaries, whatever it is, that kind of thing. And so, just seeing that alone, and that's something that you're directly helping people with that. So.
Yeah. And I saw a deal the other day that said that, that credit card processing fees were one of the top 3 expenses in a business.
Oh yeah.
Which is crazy to think about, that it's up there with, with rent, or a mortgage, one of the most expensive things. Yeah. So if you're paying too much, I mean, that can hurt. And especially like, I love the like you said, the mom and pop, the family run businesses, the little small, corner stores and stuff. And those are the ones that hurts the most.
Oh yeah.
So if we don't do something to help those businesses, we're going to lose those and only have the big stores, the big corporations.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's, like I said, especially ones that run a lot of transactions, especially now. I mean, back then, there a lot of people still use, cash and, checks and that kind of thing. But now, I mean, you go some places and you pull out cash and they don't even know what to do with it almost.
Dang, like we went to the water park the other day, and like in any of these big deals, and you go to the games and stuff, it's cashless. They have reverse ATMs. You put cash in to get a card back out. It's crazy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's I'm trying to think where we went the other day, but for sure the water park the other day, they had a reverse ATM. You put cash in, you get a card back out, so you can buy stuff.
Crazy. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So I think I would imagine that it's just going to get more and more, which, like you said, most people don't carry much cash. Hardly anybody has a check, probably unless you ranch or something.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. If I had a title company ask me, they're like, "Hey, just send us a check," and I was like, "I don't think I've had a check in 5 years." I was like, I don't even know where I'd start. I was like, I'd have to go to the bank and get one, I guess. But yeah, it's one of those things that just kind of went away. But yeah, no, it's like I said, I just think now, after everything I've been through, like you said, I think the more people that we can help, and whether it's ranching, whether it's real estate, credit card, helping companies save money, I think if we can kind of lean towards that, it'll inevitably help us.
Yeah. So. As many transactions as you've done, you've had to have run across some pretty interesting pieces of real estate. So what's like a nastiest home that maybe you've dealt with?
I'm trying to think. So when I was still with another company, we had a new hire, and I was taking him out to look at. He had a guy who wanted to buy a house in North Richland Hills. Back then, it was an REO, so it was a foreclosure and everything. And back in the day, a lot of these times when these foreclosures would hit, they had to be out of the house. And so, unfortunately, people would leave their pets and anything else there. And so we go to this house, and they had left 4 or 5 dogs and some cats in there. They had passed away in the house. Not sure how long they'd been in there, but they had literally decomposed into the floor. And not only that, they'd left like 3 big bags of food, just dumped them on the living room floor. And we opened the door and everything, and I guess I'd gotten used to it. So it was bad. It was real bad. But this kid comes in, and he was kind of fresh out of college, and he walks in one step, and it hits him, and he just turns and immediately just pukes all over the front steps and everything. And his investor walks up, and he's standing in the street, and he was like, yeah, he's like, I'll buy it. And I was like, will you come see it? And he's like, I can smell it from here. I don't need to walk inside. And that was probably about one of the worst. We've walked some bad ones, but that one was pretty rough. And it was one of those ones you didn't really realize what was going on until you kind of got in there. And but once it hit you, it was bad. I didn't spend too much time in there. So
I think I want to hear. I heard on a podcast. I want to say I heard of an investor, and like somebody had died in the house and was like still in there, and like
Ooh.
I don't know how that happens, like how nobody like ever finds them or something. But he walked in to, I think, to buy it, or maybe he already bought it, and yeah, that would be bad also.
Oh yeah, I heard of one where a guy had he was a tenant, and he had passed away in the upstairs bathtub, and somebody had gone in there to walk it and everything, and walked in, and they realized what it was, but the guy decomposed in the bathtub and everything, and he had to tell the landlord what was going on, because the landlord told him, I hadn't heard from him in 2 or 3 days, not sure what's going on. He's like, just go on over there. He may have vacated. He thought he'd vacated already.
Yeah.
And yeah, the guy was upstairs in the bathtub, unfortunately.
Ugh.
So yeah, nowadays you don't see as many. Most stuff we buy is pretty clean, and people are just want to sell. They have some equity and all that. You don't really run into some in the rural areas now. You'll see some that have been vacant for a long time. That kind of thing. But most of the stuff is not near. When these people talk about bad houses, I don't think they realize how bad we used to see it. So,
have you ever found anything cool in any interesting items or anything?
Not really. My brother finds a lot of cool stuff. I don't know. He's just lucky like that, I guess. But he's found some motorcycles, that kind of thing. We had bought a house in Waco a while back, and we closed on it and everything, and we owned it. Sellers didn't say anything about coming back. And typically when you close on something, the day you close, you go to the house, you change the locks, anything left in the house, unless they've explained it to you. We, in our situation, we're usually like, well, we got to trash it out. We know we're just going to throw it all away and everything. Well, we go in this house, we're looking around, and there's a couple of guns there. There's some silverware and everything. There's some china and all that, and there's a silver platter sitting there. And I just pull it up. I looked at the name, pull it up and everything, and this platter's worth now about $4,000. And like I said, there's some more guns, and there's some jewelry and everything in there, and we were like, gosh, I was like, well, let's just pawn this stuff or do something with it. We don't need it. Platter, we're like, we'll give it to my mom. She loves that kind of stuff. And so we kind of have it all loaded up and everything. And like I said, we've already closed on the house, never said a word about coming back. And literally as we open the door and we go to walk out, the family's walking in to get all this stuff. And so I was sitting there holding this thing, and I just kind of turned around, set it on the counter, and I was like, all right, we'll be back later, get everything you want, And I was like, man, that was perfect timing, 'cause I'd hate to take somebody's stuff, but it was kind of comical because we're sitting there about to walk out with it, and they come back to the house.
Yeah.
So
they got lucky that they
showed
up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they would have said something, but yeah, they didn't say a word. We were just like, well, they just don't want it. They'll leave it here, because it was an estate sale with the grandma's stuff. And but yeah, that one was. We thought we were gonna get some cool stuff out of it, but no, they got it. But yeah, no, like I said, usually people get most of the stuff and everything that was important.
Yeah. What's the most money you've made in one transaction?
Let's see. Years ago, we sold a 33 property package that we made about $300,000 on, and we've done some land deals, where we made 50, 75, 100 on that kind of thing. The higher price stuff is usually you can get more out of it, that kind of thing. Or the rental properties, tenants, landlords usually pay more. The rates are kind of making it tough. But we do try to do some multifamily stuff here and there. But I think that overall, that one was probably the most actual profit we made off something.
Yeah, same margin, but the number is just bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How has that market shifted with the rate hike and all that stuff? Does that affect y'all any, or?
I mean, yeah, because we can, you can't sell as many rentals. I mean, when rates were, 3%, even 4%, that kind of thing, you could cash flow quite a bit. Most people I know and everything, their minimum is about $400 a month. Worst case scenario, and even that's hard to reach now. Unless you're just buying super duper cheap or something, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Rural stuff actually rents a lot higher for what you have. You can, I mean, I'm sure, you can have a double wide on 4 or 5 acres and rent it for $1,500 to $2,000 a month because people want land. They don't want to be their only other option is usually, a apartment or something like that. As to where in the city it's a little different. But yeah, I mean, it's, we aren't selling near as many rentals, as we used to. Because of that, you just can't cash flow with it, So serious investors obviously are typically, like I said, they're going to buy it. Even if they pay cash, they're going to rehab it, get it occupied, and then turn around and refi out of it and get their cash back. But if you tag on a 7, 8, even 9% interest rate, it's pretty tough to cash flow with that.
Yeah. What's your favorite restaurant?
So, if my parents ever see this, it's still their Ranch House Barbecue. But I don't individual restaurant. I love Bob's up in Fort Worth. Bob's Chop House. I don't know. That'd be hard to beat. Steak, something like that.
Yeah.
That's by far my favorite.
It's a good steak somewhere.
Yeah. Rough Creek Lodge. We were just out there, and I don't. Have you been to Rough Creek?
Mm-mm.
You got to take the family out there, take the wife or something. It's good. It's it's kind of 5-star ranch dining and everything, and a good friend of ours is a chef out there, and it is. I told him the other day, a steak I had out there was probably one of the best I've ever had.
Dang,
it was good.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's fun too. It's on. I think they've got like 11,000 acres out there. So it's
I've been by there a bunch, but I've never. I knew you could go eat and do stuff out there, but I've never been.
Oh yeah, it's a good spot. So it's a little pricey, Probably not gonna eat there every day, but special occasions and that kind of stuff, it's definitely fun.
No, it's good to go somewhere like that.
Oh yeah.
Where can somebody find you and find your company if they got a deal, if they're interested in coming on, making some money with you, or they got a home to sell?
So we have our website, Profit Homes. You can Google it or just look it up. Or you can contact us at 817-224-2286. That's our direct line. You can kind of reach anyone. You can ask for me, or you can ask for an acquisition agent if you're looking to sell a home, or a sales agent, dispo agent if you're looking to sell. That'd be the quickest, easiest way to get in touch with anyone.
Okay.
Or just, like I said, holler at us on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, y'all go check them out. I'm going to try to provide some more opportunities like this. If you want to increase your income, it's a great opportunity to go learn real estate, go learn the wholesale game, go out on your own, and increase your income, and you can change your life. I hope y'all liked it. Go follow Addison, go look up Profit Homes, and we'll see y'all next time.